Hey, what's up? It's Madeline Paquette, and I want to give you a little overview about Napa Valley. This is, for wine geeks, it's like Mecca in the United States. I don't know why, but we all end up there. This place is crazy. Not only does it have some of the best hospitality of any wine region anywhere, it also has some of the most complex wine growing stuff that makes it a really interesting place to explore wine. So let's get into it. I want to give you a little overview about Napa Valley in general and the wines to pay attention to. Napa Valley is located in the Bay Area. It's only about an hour and a half from San Francisco. And this location is like perfect for wine grape growing. There's only about 2% of the world which is a perfect Mediterranean climate, and that's exactly what this entire sort of Bay Area zone has. And Napa Valley just happens to be in the most optimal spot for growing red wine. When you come to Napa Valley, expect to get purple teeth. You wanna know what I'm thinking? We should try a couple. If there's one wine you must know from Napa Valley, it's Cabernet Sauvignon. This is a grape that takes up more than 50% of the vineyards in Napa Valley and became renowned from this region starting in 1976 when there was a blind tasting and Napa went head to head against Bordeaux in Paris and won. So let's give it a try. All right, this wine is so dark. It's so deep and dark and black in color. It is a deep ruby color. Lots of tears forming in general in the glass, indicating a higher alcohol level wine. Napa Cabernet has this huge amount of fruit, but it can also have these really intense, almost dusty qualities. So I'm getting black cherry, blackberry, dusty road, and in this particular wine, a little bit of mint and oregano. All right, let's give it a taste. These wines are massive on the palate. They're huge. They go from front to back and they build in the middle. But this wine also has really high acidity. I think this particular bottle is from Mount Veeder, a mountain appellation, and I'll talk about the different subregions of Napa Valley because you really should know about them. So this one's from a mountain zone, and because of that, it has a little higher acidity. All right, so everybody loves Cabernet, and the grape that nobody admits that they love is Merlot. All right, let's look at the color. Super deep color, can't see through it. But here's the thing about Merlot. On the edge of the rim of the glass, instead of it being a deep ruby, well, it's still deep ruby, it has a little bit of like orange tinge. It's like a secret about Merlot. Legs on the glass. Yeah, man, they're forming. Lots of them, plenty. Let's give it a sniff. Oh, dude. Holy crap. All right, so this one smells like rich dark plums, chocolate, black cherry, and then I get that dusty quality, that undescribable Rutherford dust, although technically this is from Mount Veeder. And then it smells just a little bit of crushed gravel and the most subtle hint of mint. Let's give it a taste. On the palate, equally big to our big boy Cabernet brother over here, or sister, or whatever you want to call it. Whoa, you've got a lot of fruit up front, so sort of black cherry, but then it goes into this sort of sweet tobacco zone on the mid palate, which is supported by this sort of spritey acidity. And then on the finish on the back of the palate, it's got the alcohol, it's got a little bit of that burn, but then it has this nice sort of menthol note. So Napa Cabernet and Napa Merlot are definitely the heavy hitters when it comes to wines in the Napa Valley, but there are much more different grape varieties growing here. Somewhere between 25 and 30 different grape varieties grow in the valley. But in order to know what to seek out, you kind of need to know a little bit more about Napa Valley because it's very varied. Very varied. So Napa Valley is 30 miles deep and about 5 miles wide at the widest point. And because it sits on top of the bay, the San Pablo Bay, which is part of the San Francisco Bay Area, it receives all these cooling breezes on the lower, more southern part of the valley. And what the Napanese decided was that the grape varieties that were growing in these different areas, the areas were different enough that they needed to subdivide up the valley. And what you'll find is there are actually 16 different grape growing zones within Napa Valley. There are those close to the San Pablo Bay. There are those skirting along the valley, along the Napa River. And then there are those vineyards that go up the sides of the hills in the Mayacamas and Vaca ranges. And what we've noticed analyzing this region as much as we've had is that you kind of get a stylistic difference between those wines from the hillside vineyards and those wines from the valley vineyards and then those wines from the bay. And in fact, you could even find different grape varieties growing better in different areas. For example, in the Bayside region of Los Carneros, which is also partially in Sonoma, you will find fantastic Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and sparkling wine. Then further up the valley, we're finding these sweet spots for different grape varieties, such as closer to the river, they've been planting some Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon, and they make these dope white wine blends, even with some oak aging. So that, my friends, is Napa Valley. It's a myriad of different soil types, a plethora of climates, and so many different grape varieties. If you want to know more, we just created an incredible guide that explores all of these topics within the Napa Valley and connects you directly to the wineries that are there. So you can see all the wines that are growing there, you can find out about the wineries producing wines, and you can explore all this deep knowledge so that you too can have a thing or two to say about Napa. All right, I hope you enjoyed that little overview of Napa Valley and are excited to taste more. Definitely check out the guide or subscribe to us to find out more about wine. Until next time, peace out.